So just to introduce myself at first,
Is it shared?
I'm Thomas. I'm from the University of Montreal at the Econ Crime Lab, which is a new research hub um, focusing on new profit-driven crimes. I'm here with Professor Masarah Paquet-Clouston, and I'll be presenting our paper, which is an exploration on cryptocurrency corporations, fiscal opportunities. So first, let's start with a little bit of context on tax evasion and decentralized finance. So we started off the idea that there's a lax legal framework in the decentralized finance sector. And as the industry gains traction, which, for example, in 2021, it handled about 2.3 trillion US dollars worldwide, the governments won't let all that revenue go untaxed and unregulated. So we have governments that create or adapt legislations. For example, we have the IRS, which by the end of 2023 will enforce a new form in the US, which should bring about 28 billion US dollars in additional tax revenue. And that's just for individual investors. Here we're focusing on corporations, and numbers are then much bigger. So enterprises may then shop for advantageous jurisdictions, which may be known as tax haven, for example, jurisdictions which offer bank secrecy, which we've all known Switzerland for a long time. Traditional tax havens, for example, the Cayman Islands, the Bahamas, and other types of jurisdictions like that. Tax evasion may be committed through profit transfer, which is the most common, by committing basically just transactions between the main branch, which is, for example, in the US or the UK, and a branch or a subsidiary, which could be in a financially advantageous jurisdiction. It may also be possible that by the nature of DeFi enterprises, they are very flexible and may be able to relocate completely to a financially advantageous jurisdiction rather than having a big network of branches or subsidiaries, which we'll talk about later. So our research objective globally, we wanted to explore global tax evasion opportunities for decentralized finance enterprises. We wanted to do that by quantifying the fiscal opportunities for enterprises with a crypto revenue. And the keyword here really is crypto revenue, as we focus on the fact that the income is perceived by the form of crypto. So whether it is for an exchange, the trading fees, for staking services, the spread, even payment services, it could be a transaction fee, it could be online casinos, no matter what, we consider crypto revenue. And for our second objective, which is the assessment of if such evasion opportunities are exploitable. So we are introducing the concept of capability to tax evasion. So it's the capability of a jurisdiction to host enterprises. So let's say I'm a company, I'm based in the UK, I am interested in relocating in an advantageous jurisdiction. Well, is it interesting really just by the numbers? Is it just a low tax jurisdiction, or does it have the right resources for my business to operate over there? So for the first objective, we considered 114 jurisdictions, and what matters there is the term jurisdictions, as many places aren't countries, they are territories. They might be British Crown dependencies, for example, such as Guernsey or Jersey or even Gibraltar, which have their own tax policies. So the variables included in that are the corporate income tax, the capital gains tax, which we both took data from PricewaterhouseCoopers, and the application of tax laws to cryptocurrencies. So we have both fiscal variables and the application of the tax policy. So some jurisdictions may choose to apply their tax policy or not on cryptocurrency. So the method was visualization of the distribution, with the Sankey graph, which I'll show right now. Here is our Sankey. So first look at the split on the application of tax laws and cryptocurrencies. We have our 114 jurisdiction, which 60% of them apply tax laws on crypto. What's interesting is on the lower part, where we can see the 40% of jurisdictions which do not apply tax on crypto. There's the light blue line, which represent 26 jurisdictions. Those are jurisdictions with high tax rates, as we can see on the upper right, as they have high corporate income tax and high capital gains tax, yet they don't apply their tax policy in crypto. So those are additional evasion opportunities for decentralized finance enterprises, as well, they might not be interesting for traditional finance or traditional businesses, but if you perceive your revenue under the form of crypto, the tax policy will not be applied. So we can ask ourselves now, are they trying to position themselves as crypto hubs? Is the legislation just dated, or are these really criminal opportunities, which we'll look at with the capability aspect in a minute. What matters here is the crypto revenue interpretation aspect. So opportunities may vary depending on how crypto is considered in a certain jurisdiction. For example, how the revenue is generated, but also the legal status of cryptocurrency, which could be considered as a security in certain jurisdictions. So if it's considered as a security, all revenue may be taxed as capital gains, even though it's not really used as a security in such jurisdiction. So let's look at those are traditional tax havens. Those are just low income tax and low capital gains tax jurisdictions, which are interesting for everyone. Traditional finance businesses and corporate and DeFi businesses. We then have our other advantageous jurisdictions, but there are only advantages on the capital gains tax aspect. So they're interesting for certain businesses. For example, if crypto is perceived as a security, so your income may be taxed as a capital gain, it can be interesting for your business. And here are the 26 jurisdictions, which I talked earlier. They are the additional tax evasion opportunities in our sample. So let's move on to the assessment of the exploitability of such opportunities. In this part, we included 91 jurisdictions because we have many more variables. Those are the exact same variables which I just talked about, and to which we added the capability aspect, which is, first of all, cryptocurrency adoption score from Chainalysis, which is from their crypto adoption ranking of a lot of jurisdictions. We have the financial institutions and markets indexes, which are from the IMF, International Monetary Fund. Those are part of the Financial Development Index. They are quite interesting here, as just as I said earlier, we're looking at if a jurisdiction is interesting for a business to relocate or to establish their activities. Well, for example, the financial institutions aspect, are there any international banks over there? It's all included in that. Are the financial markets accessible? So it all depends on the field of the businesses, but those are major indexes which we chose to include. So for the visualization method, we choose to do a UMAP, which is the Uniform Manifold Approximation for Dimension Reduction, which which allowed us to consider capability as to how opportunities relate to environmental factors, which are the two lower ones, which are highlighted. So just quick word on the UMAP. It just allowed us to consider each variable as a dimension, and then to create clusters in jurisdiction to in regard to their characteristics. What's interesting is it print the results in 2 dimensions, so we can then identify patterns between the group of jurisdictions, which we wouldn't be able to identify otherwise. And here's the source for the tool. So exploring jurisdictions capability, here's our UMAP results. So first look at the upper part, which are the factors which we looked at through Sankey graph earlier. So first we can see on this first graph on the left, the CIT aspect. The purple dots are the jurisdictions with corporate income tax of less than 15%. And why we used 15% is because it's the new global norm by the OECD, which is supposed to be enforced by the end of 2023, but it's been postponed twice already. So we used jurisdictions with lower than 15% or higher than 15% taxes, both on corporate income tax and capital gains tax variables. So we can see that all the jurisdictions which have a low income tax also have a low capital gains tax. There are many more interesting opportunities on the capital gains tax aspect. And we can see the application of crypto tax laws. Jurisdictions which apply crypto tax laws are in purple. So let's look at the capability aspect, first of all, through the financial institutions index and the markets, the financial markets index. So we can see that the points in the upper part, in the upper cluster, are much darker than in the rest. The distribution is quite similar, both on the financial institutions and financial markets index. And then we have the crypto adoption index, which the pattern is a bit complicated to identify just right now. But what's interesting is for when putting the financial development, so institutions and markets in relation with the cryptocurrency adoption index, we can see that their high financial development does not mean high crypto adoption. So jurisdictions with a high level of financial development, so they have many international banks, they have great access to financial markets, which means the presence of stock markets, for example, many variables included in those indexes. Well, they don't necessarily have a high level of crypto adoption. So we can ask ourselves why jurisdictions with a crypto adoption level that's super high, why aren't they as developed as others, which we'll talk about a bit later, but basically the index from Chainalysis includes web traffic data, so it might include other activities in there. We can see also that the financial development and the application of tax laws, so financial development, I'm talking about the two lower left ones, and application of tax laws on the upper right. The jurisdictions that apply tax laws, so the cluster, which is all in purple dots on the right, jurisdictions that apply tax laws are more financially developed. So conform jurisdictions to international norms are more developed than the ones which offer tax evasion opportunities, basically. So the key takeaways, first of all, we have the 26 jurisdictions, which I talked about, which are the additional tax evasion opportunities. They have high tax rates, yet they do not apply their tax policy on crypto revenue. Those are fiscal opportunities, mainly for tax evasion purposes. We can think that they are temporary. Also, there's the aspect that they might not be super stable opportunities. So you might not want to relocate your business over there, as well, there's not really a statement on how crypto revenue is considered over there. Yeah, for example, in Chainalysis ranking, I'll just start by saying that a jurisdiction high financial development does not necessarily translate to a high crypto adoption, which I just showed you with the UMAP. So for example, in Chainalysis ranking, Vietnam is ranked as the #1 country for crypto adoption worldwide. However, their ranking includes web traffic data, which may include payment systems, online casinos, or maybe it's just that in a certain jurisdiction, there's a lot of inflation and cryptocurrency by the form of stable coins might be used as an alternative to fiat currency, which could be an explanation to that. And we also have the fact that jurisdictions that apply tax laws to cryptocurrencies tend to be more developed. All relationships were tested with pairwise tests, which are all included in our paper. So you might be asking, okay, where are DeFi enterprises located? We looked at the opportunities according to fiscal variables, to statistics, but where are they? So first of all, we looked at the top 100 exchanges, spot exchanges by trading volume in 2022. It's their monthly trading volume. We have 100 exchanges, which are present in 160 jurisdictions, which is quite funny, as most of them claim to be present in 190 plus or 200 plus jurisdictions, which not really the case, at least through their corporate structure, because this is data from Orbis, which is a corporate database. So the distribution of the exchanges through fiscal categories. So we have the first one, which is low CIT, low CGT. Those are the traditional tax havens, for example, Bermuda and the Cayman Islands. 8% of those exchanges are present in such jurisdictions. This 4% of those apply tax laws, and then the other 4% do not apply tax laws to crypto. So some might be more interesting than others, but those are all the traditional tax haven opportunities. We have the high corporate income tax, low capital gains tax opportunities, which I talked about. Well, most jurisdictions in this category apply tax laws. And this one includes Singapore, which is one of the main financial hubs and main crypto hubs worldwide. And what's quite interesting with Singapore is that it taxes crypto revenue as capital gains in many cases as well. It's considered as a capital gain, and the capital gain tax is at 0% over there. So it can be quite interesting. We also have, for example, Mauritius, which is a well-known tax haven for tax evasion, which do not apply tax laws to cryptocurrencies. And we have the 71% of jurisdictions, well, 71% of exchanges are present in high tax rate jurisdictions, which might seem surprising, but we have to consider the fact that those include the main crypto hubs, so the US and the UK. And those are also there are also the 26 additional opportunities, which I talked about, that do not apply tax laws on crypto. Only 6 of them are actually exploited by exchanges, and there are 14 out of 100 exchanges which are present in those 6 jurisdictions. So, for example, Vietnam, they have high taxes on both fiscal variables, yet they do not apply their tax policy to crypto. So they might be jurisdictions over there might be committing tax evasion, which we will be looking at further in our analysis. So we replicated the UMAP results by overlaying the exchanges over the same results. This is the UMAP of the normalized exchanges. It's log normalized with a maximum of 20 because we wanted to exclude the hubs for a better visualization on the UMAP results. So we do not necessarily have super easily identifiable patterns at a first look. We can see that the darker dots, which means that there are more exchanges in those jurisdictions, are in the upper clusters, which are jurisdictions with a higher financial development and jurisdictions that apply tax laws to crypto. What's also interesting is that there's a total absence of relationship with the level of crypto adoption. So the presence of those top 100 exchanges and jurisdictions does not correlate with the high level of crypto adoption. Those are the 5 hubs with 20 plus exchanges, which we all know as, well, either they are major financial hubs such as Singapore, US, UK, Hong Kong, and Estonia, which is trying to position itself as a leader in crypto. So for limits and further research, our results are limited by the use of third-party data, as data sources include different jurisdictions. So it reduces the size of the sample. So we should gather precise data on jurisdictions. The ever-evolving landscape of the data, so which we should update data frequently. And yeah, we have opportunities that vary depending on the legal status of crypto, which we should consider the legal status of crypto, as I said earlier, as it may be taxed under capital gain if it's a security, for example. And well, we should include where corporations are established, for example, the exchanges, which we'll look at through a network analysis to see if the ones that are in tax evasion opportunities are also in the US or the UK. So are they committing profit transfer? Are they just relocating, for example? So thank you. If you have any questions. Yeah, if you want to speak in the microphone for the.
Do you think it may have some causal relations between the tax and the trading volume of the exchanges? For example, like a heavy tax may result in a high trading fees, as well as users may prefer another exchanges with lower trading fees. Do you think there exists such relations?
Well, right now we haven't looked at the aspect of trading fees, as we were mostly looking at the opportunities for the exchange itself. So does the exchange want to relocate in a advantageous jurisdiction? But there might be an opportunity on that. Also, I think that there are, well, let's say the top 3 exchanges control most of the market. So most people are going there because they are very reputable, and also the top 3 to 5 exchanges also own a bunch of other exchanges and a bunch of other businesses. So most of users probably invest through these businesses.
Yeah, okay.
So it might be interesting to look at in the future.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I know I have a question.
Yeah.
Just clarifying. So you are looking at the DeFi enterprise, right?
Yeah.
So many of these countries are potentially developing countries.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't have much financial infrastructure. Primary use of crypto probably for payment services.
Yeah, it may be in some jurisdiction.
Yeah. So I wonder whether, in addition to exchanges, some sort of a payment crypto service.
Yeah.
Other index can.
Yeah. So we haven't used any of those additional indexes at first. So right now we're looking at indexes as the data was quite easily available on the trading volume. But it might be interesting also to look at this in the future. It was quite an exploratory paper. It was also the first occasion to consider the aspect of capability in relation to tax evasion. So it was really the first iteration of the concept of capability for tax evasion opportunities. So we might add other factors in the UMAP, for example, to consider how jurisdiction might be interesting. So we might be looking at, for example, let's say the type of use of crypto in a jurisdiction could be a super interesting variable to include as, well, for example, it could be for payment services or like, let's say PayPal, but in crypto. So it could be interesting to look at, yeah.